Our foundation, its board of trustees, board of advisors, the Windstar connection groups around the world, and members of Windstar everywhere, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you to our 6th Symposium on Choices for the Future. I believe that all of us here, and all of those who have yet to arrive, have many things in common. One of the things that I think we have in common is a desire to make a difference in the world. I wanted to say that to you this morning because I believe that one of the most critical things that we face in our world, which to a large degree is a product of social injustice, is that there are at least 2 generations of young people out there for whom that notion of making a difference does not exist, for whom that idea of living a life that matters does not exist. In the next 10 to 20 years, we will determine whether or not higher life forms can sustain themselves on this planet. That we as human beings are in fact the endangered species. And I think the fact that underlies that is that if we're on a downward spiral now, and we turn it over to one generation and then another generation who don't think it can get any better, and who have no vision of a brighter future and a better quality of life, then I would say that we're signing our own death warrant. So the most critical challenge that faces us, in my opinion, in the world today is what are the things that you and I can do collectively and as individuals to create that spark in those 2 young generations of people that says there's still a chance, we still have the opportunity to make conscious choices and to turn this thing around and to create not only a healthy environment and a sustainable future, but a better quality of life for all living things.
I come to the environmental movement with a science and education background, but the thing that Choices Symposium brought forth for me, because it came forth from you or those who were present that time, was the importance of the sense of spirit about all of which we do.
Before our eyes, every day, the world is making choices. Choices between freedom and oppression, between life in basic harmony with nature and life in opposition to it, and between life lived consciously with awareness of the planet's finite resources and life lived blindly with no thought that the party might ever end.
Within each of us is an immense creative energy that knows the way out of fear and sadness and the negative conditions for which we often blame others. In this Windstar Symposium, may we see ourselves as creators, not the creators of things, but of attitudes and beliefs.
The clothes that you wear, the food that you eat, the car that you drive, the house that you live in, the airplane that you ride in. Everything, virtually everything. There's nothing that makes your life the way it is that did not come from the earth. And so we must have respect for the earth. This is what our people told us, our forefathers. And when you become a linear, rational thinker, then the sacredness is taken out of everything. No longer is the earth a spiritual entity. It becomes an object. No longer is the tree your brother. It becomes an object. Everything becomes an object. And when everything is an object, then you can exploit it to whatever degree that you so desire, and you will suffer no pangs of guilt, because it's just an object.
From the moment we're born, we have parent-child. It's a hierarchy. How different would it be if we knew that this being that has come into our life is our partner? and it was a parent and partner relationship, we would react entirely differently. As soon as we know that we are one, we have, as Reuben said, a respect. And we do not treat our children with respect. Most people don't even believe they have feelings in the way that they treat them. And then we go to school and we have teacher-student. How different would our education system be if we knew that these people in our midst for this experience are our partners for whatever time we are spending together? And then we go to work and we have employers and employees, supervisors and supervisees. We don't know that these people are our partners. And how different would our workplaces be if we knew the truth, which is we are partners. Soon as we know that, we cannot disrespect. We have to find new ways of creating families, creating education, creating workplaces, creating cities, creating places to live that are based in respect.
It's so good to see you all here. And believe me, I don't feel like a leader at all. You're the leaders. And we're all, you know, as they say in the Congress, there go the people, and we better get in front of them. We're supposed to be their leaders. My premise is you can't have an institution any better than the people you send to run it. Who's running for presidency? Who's helping them? Who has their ear? What is their vision? Without a vision, people perish. And doggone it, I am tired of the vision thing being a joke for Saturday Night Live. It had better be a thing we discuss in political campaigns when we talk about what kind of world we're going to live in the future, and what is that person that's asking for your vote to represent you going to do to try and move the world in that direction. Why are we so afraid to stand up for what ought to be? Look, I don't need to tell you what ought to be done here. Everyone in this room knows what's got to be done here. Look, we got a wonderful, wonderful chance to change this world now.
From the way that we think about political office, as the office that is held by presidents or by congressmen or even by mayors, and begin to realize once again the fundamental democratic premise that in the end the most important office is the office of citizen, and that we have got to begin to take seriously once again what that office is all about.
I had never really articulated this before until that day, that what my vision was as a peace officer was that someday, and someday soon, the way that I would be looked at by the people in my community was that I wasn't a law enforcer, that I wasn't a person who came out and arrested people, but that my role was one of being the person who reminded people from time to time that they had gone off course from the values that they had set for themselves with the rest of that community. And that in fact, after I had, quote unquote, arrested somebody, that they would look at me and say, thank you.
I think our greatest hope for the future is now that we are beginning, now we are beginning to act for the long haul. We've had the wonderful perspective of seeing the earth from afar, and we are beginning to wake up to the beauty and the threads of life that we need to nurture.
Someday some children will be digging in some long forgotten ground, and they'll find our civilization, or what's left of it to be found. They'll find the weapons of destruction, but buried deeper in the hole. They'll find a message and a promise in the sand, the potter's mold. Take a little clay, put it on a wheel, get a little hint how God must feel. To it spin, make it in the shape you want it in. Take Take a little clay, put it on the wheel, get a little hint how God must feel. Give a little turn, listen to it spin, make it in the shape you want it in. Earth and water and wind conspire with human hands and love and fire. Take a little clay, put it on a wheel, get a little hint how God must feel. Give a little turn, listen to it spin, make it in the shape you want it in.
This is a unique time in human history. There are enough people using enough energy to alter the entire planet on a global scale. That's never been true before. There has always been global change, but for millennia, we humans have been passive spectators, staring in awe at the pageant of natural change, ice ages and dust bowls, hurricanes and monsoons. But now we've moved up out of the audience onto the stage, and we ourselves are actors helping to influence how our planet evolves, for better or for worse. We did not seek this role, it was thrust on us, but now we have it. We get only one chance, no script, no rehearsal. And it's no accident that many aspects of global change are happening all at the same time. Ozone loss, acid rain, global warming. They're happening now, all at once, because they have a single cause, we ourselves. There are now so many people on Earth, over 5 billion, and we use energy so profligately and often so thoughtlessly that we are soiling our nest on a global scale. What you do affects the rest of the world, and what the rest of the world does affects you where you live. So there's an international aspect to this problem, and it requires international solutions. The United States could go back tomorrow morning to living in caves and eating twigs and berries, and that wouldn't solve the whole problem of global warming or any of the other global change problems. They require international solutions.
It's always a pleasure to participate in the Choices Symposium, but this year more so. More so because this is the first symposium of the decade of the 90s, a fateful decade perhaps, a decade of accelerating and explosive global change, perhaps most graphically reflected in the collapse of the Soviet Empire, where after 7 decades of repression, communism has been soundly routed, not with a bang, but with a whimper. That our increased levels of knowledge gives us the capacity to anticipate the future, and this carries the responsibility for that future.
I watched Congress authorize NASA to spend $800 million to map the surface of Venus. In relationship to the Earth, it's a corpse, just like all of the other bodies in the solar system. And here the Earth is a patient in intensive care, and not a nickel for mapping the Earth to 1 kilometer resolution from satellite imagery, where you can analyze these spectral bands to understand Earth resources.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Crum.
Love you. Well, it's been a rough year. Can you relate to this, John? Can you relate to this? Yeah. Can you all relate to this? Ah, yes, it's the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Yeah, I might not be the sharpest arrow in the quiver, but we are certainly full of chaos, aren't we, lately? And I just want to get my point across that I have a short period of time up here, and I want to deal with change, because we have so much chaos, and the world is changing at such a rapid rate and we're still trying to figure out how to change light bulbs, personally. So I want to talk about that. In this world, when I travel, I can't believe how much is going on, how much chaos, how much change. It's remarkable. But I don't want you to take responsibility for everything, because I know that's your tendency. In meetings like this and weekends like this, you come away saying, I'm going to take responsibility for everything. But I'm convinced that all of the difficulties that are going on in the world and all these wonderful changes are the result of the fax machine. Don't you think? It's the fax factor. It's the shortening of time.
So once we have cut military spending to the bare bones, what else can the military do? Well, there are a few things that come to mind, and a few things we're doing now that might surprise you. First, let me talk about some of the areas where I think the military should increase its involvement. And since I deal primarily with environmental issues, I know this audience will forgive me if I use environmental examples primarily, although the principles I speak to of partnership and involvement I think are appropriate in non-environmental areas as well. First, the military has some unique tools, some unique abilities, which I believe can and should be used to help with many problems. For example, the military's ability to survey the sky, earth, sea, and space worldwide instantaneously offers opportunities to study for peaceful purposes the effects of ocean currents, ozone depletion, population density, crops and famine, and a host of other terrestrial problems which hurt the global community. While the military must train, and train well, for its traditional security function, I see no reason why the military can't train and plant trees, train and conduct environmental cleanups, train and assist on a number of other terrestrial problems which contribute to injustice. The term national security needs to be broadened, just as we need to adjust the meaning of the word threat. Now, having said where I think we might go, let me tell you a bit about where we are and where we've been. And again, I'll be using environmental examples since that's what I'm most familiar with. First off, it is clear that the United States military, the Air Force included, has often not lived up to its environmental obligations. There are many examples of where the military has, by invoking a curious definition of national security, allowed environmental concerns to be brushed aside in order to fight the threat.
We need to work with each other, not be so tough. In these times of chaos, it's going to take a lot of centered people. And I'm saying that training, it's not, you know, the big issues are there and we're all going to be working on those, but it's the day-to-day stuff from center that means everything. We need to lighten up a little bit, don't we? I mean, we do need, as that quote goes, take our lives seriously but ourselves lightly. Laughter is really important, isn't it? Thich Nhat Hanh has been a mentor of mine. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, are you familiar with his writings? Beautiful. It's so simple. He just says, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in calmness. Breathe out a smile. Breathe in precious moment. Breathe out present moment. Isn't that powerful? Just do that. That's part of the key to getting centered. You have to catch yourself because we haven't had a lot of training periodically throughout the day to do that. If we can smile at any time and choose that, we could probably choose laughter at any time too, couldn't we? I mean, have you ever thought about that? You don't really need your circumstances that look a certain way to even laugh. Are you aware of C.W. Metcalf? He's not in here, is he? He was from Denver. Some of you Denver. He does humor and workshops. He did a whole thing on the physiology of laughter that I thought was beautiful in knowing that laughter is a choice. It's a choice. You don't need anything to be funny. You want to do it? We got 2 minutes, 4 minutes. You want to do it? It's real simple. I mean, if you can laugh, a big belly laugh. Like when Al, you know, just do it. It's powerful. So here's what he did. He said, well, notice the physiology of laughter. First, there's a zygomaticus muscle. That's the muscle that moves the mouth into, and let's move it into a little insincere smile, like you go to ask your boss for a raise and he gives you one of those. Okay? So just a little insincere smile. Everyone do that. Just get there. I know it's tough. We've got to get rid of these egos. We know it's hard. There is one great thing about egos, though. They don't talk about others. There you go. Okay, get this little smile. Everyone got the smile? Okay, now turn to the right or left. Make sure they all got the smile. It's that little insincere smile. Then there's the what is it called? Orbicularis oculi. That's the little muscles in here which give you that Clint Eastwood squint. So I want you to have the little smile and now a little squint, like this. And turn right or left. Just check it out. Make sure everybody's got that. Okay. You see? Now notice what else happens when you laugh. The frontalis muscle goes into operation. The frontalis muscle lifts the eyebrows. So now I want the little smile, the little squint right here, and then I want those eyebrows to go way up in the air like this. Some of you are standing up to try to do that. You just have to do it with the eyebrows. The hair is coming up, but just the eyebrows all over. Okay? The next muscle, very important, is the, what is it called? The platysma muscle. I think it's the platysma muscle. That allows you to relax this jaw and bare these teeth. So I want you to have a little smile right here. Little squint, Clint Eastwood, like a dolphin. You look like a dolphin now. Frontalis muscles, go way up, go ahead. And then bare the lower teeth. And look around at your partner. Okay? You got that? Now, we haven't even, this is not funny yet. We're building up. We're emerging here into choose laughter. Okay? We got it. Zygomaticus. We got the ocular orbiculi. We got the little frontalis. We got the platysma here. We got it all together. And now you want to make a sound. And I invite you to make a sound that's sort of like a gorilla in heat. Something like this. Try it. Now wait a minute. We're going to do it together. We're going to do this together, everybody.
I would like you to do this with me. Would you take your hand and just very firmly bring that energy out there you are holding on, your feeling, and just put it in your fist, loosely, without clenching your teeth. Get it together and really feel that power, and then bring it right to you in your gut. Okay. Once more with feeling. Okay? It's a spiritual harakiri. Yes. All right. Now this is the place Tommy was talking about. That place gave him the strength and power when he talked to us about centering.
I felt yesterday we were challenged in a profound way. We were told that our political leadership is not there for the challenges that we face. The scientists reinforced that the plight of the earth is as bad as we all know it is. And I started feeling that sense of overwhelm that I feel when the problems start to get magnified. And there's no solutions other than we've got to change. And that to me is not enough to get me motivated. And as I slept last night and thought about my presentation this morning and thought about where most of our psyches were most likely at, I wondered how we were all doing with that overwhelm. And I realized that for me to act, I have to feel hopeful that my actions will bear fruit. And what I'd like to offer this morning are some seeds of hope. Not seeds of hope based on wishful thinking, but seeds of hope based on what Tom was referring to as the rigor of coming from a clear center. The willingness to look what we have to look at straight in the eye and say, what can we do that can effectively respond to the challenges that we're facing? What does effective action actually look like? Not broad-based policy statements, but actual quantifiable, measurable goals that give us a baseline for what success looks like for individual action and corporate action. And out of it became the Earth Day Agenda for the Green Decade. 15 quantifiable, measurable goals that if achieved in these next 8 years now, 8.5 years, will allow us to be on a sustainable path. The first time we had a people's agenda. Unfortunately, we discovered governments are too politically hamstrung to get in this debate at that level. It went out in 142 countries. We now had a baseline. The next set of questions were how do we mobilize and empower people to achieve this agenda in their own individual lifestyles and in their workplaces and in their communities. And the vision for the Global Action Plan was to empower individuals to take effective environmental action at the household, workplace, and community levels.
And Jerry and I discovered that we were no longer ice cream men, but we had become businessmen. And that was rather disheartening. We found that we were spending our time on the telephone talking to people and writing memos and being people's bosses, and that wasn't exactly what we had in mind. And we also knew that business had kind of a bad rep for kind of exploiting its workers and exploiting the community, and so we decided to sell the business. But then I ran into a friend of mine who explained that, well, if there's something about business that you don't like, why don't you just change it instead of selling it? And that hadn't occurred to me. So we decided to keep the business and figured that, well, what a business does is make money. So what we'll do is we'll try to give away as much money as possible. And where corporations have an average contribution of about 1% of profits, we ended up coming up with a Ben & Jerry's Foundation that gives away 7.5% of its profits.
In 1981, I met Dr. Buckminster Fuller, and he started to explain something to me. I said, Bucky asked me one day, he said, what's your purpose in life? I said, to get rich. He scolded me. My whole life was in chaos, so in 1981, I decided to live my life differently. That I realized, and I've heard the women speak lately, and I do agree with you, I agree 100% with you, that the male energy on this planet is way too strong. That is... And I look today, thank you for that, I look today and I'm glad to see so many men with heart. And I wish I was speaking to more of them.
So we started looking at the definition of business. And the traditional definition of business is an entity that produces a product or provides a service. We see it a little differently at Ben & Jerry's. We see business as a combination of organized human energy plus money, and that equals power. I'd go so far as to say that it's the most powerful force in the world. You can kind of visualize this power of organized human energy if you think about the scattered light waves coming out of a normal incandescent light bulb versus the very focused waves coming out of a laser. And when you focus that energy, you can perform incredibly powerful tasks. Not only that, but business really sets the tone for our society. It's business with whom we have most of our day-to-day interactions, or a whole lot of them anyhow. And also, we find that business plays a big role in electing our politicians and influencing legislation. We go so far as to say in this country that the business of America is business. And that's really the problem, because the business of business is limited to maximizing profits. And beyond that, business is valueless. It's kind of strange when you think about it, because individuals have values, but the message that individuals get is that when you come to work, leave your values at the door.
If you grew up as I did on and around farms, there was no separation between work and life. They were the same. Well, regardless of how we came to these notions about work, it's time to change them, to bring our ideas and management techniques into congruence with what we say we believe, and it's time to recognize what really goes on at work. And what really goes on at work? Everything goes on at work. You experience every emotion there is at work: fear, jealousy, anger, guilt, pain, grief, joy, celebration, and a lot of love.
I will tell you about the end of the Anasazi because it involves our employee commitment to us, to the community, we as the developers and the hoteliers to them. But what do I see on this paper? What is it? To me, I see a cloud in the great Buddhist tradition. It's called interbeing, because I need to explain in 2.5 minutes how are we interconnected. And this interbeing of this paper is a cloud, because in the forest it rains, it snows. There's a logger on a road taking the tree down. There's a family waiting for him to come home. There's a plant to take the log to. There's a pulp mill to grind the log into paper. It's interbeing. It's all interconnected. And in our lives, and in my business life, in a sense, it is my livelihood, my right livelihood. It is joy, because I see the interconnection of all things when we make decisions within our company. And it is very simple in a sense. It is not a complicated system, because there is a cloud in this paper. It only deals with our perception on how we really truly see things. Not with the eyes in a sense, but with the heart and energy that is within this earth.
We are going to do some wonderful conferences in China to help to bring China into our consciousness, to share about ecology, to share about environmental protection. And I hugged Dennis Weaver last night for his passion about we got to look inside. We got to be sure something inside is good. For us to shout loud to help the world, we got to look inward. So I want to honor this afternoon because I'm listed under media, right? So I want to honor television. I want to honor the satellite dish. So I would like to invite you to stand up. And I want you to open your arms to be the best satellite dish you can make for yourself. Now this is your best vehicle to get the best channel program you want. Okay? You got to develop this capacity to tune in to the good news of the universe. Now that's the first step. That's your antenna. Move your fingertips. That's your feelers. Something good is out there. Lots of junk, yes, but something good still out there. Okay, it's your job, your authentic personal self. Got to find out how to tune in, how to get hold of the good news, the good programs. Now your body has a function now, right? Yeah. It's not just something you lug around and having problems with. Now you know, you honor the body. Now it has a wonderful function. We're getting ready to tune in, to funnel in the universe. Okay. Now the arm, mirror me so you see this funnel, this wonderful funnel. If you just relax, the energy comes into you. Ah. Especially with a good sound like ah.
Is it not because ethics has dropped out of our society and the law is creeping in to try to make amends for where we ourselves voluntarily have ceded our authority? Is that the direction that you want the environmental movement to go? Must we get to the point where everything is somehow legislated? Not at all. Look at some of the great products, the great successes of the last few years in the environmental field. Recycling, for example, which in most places has nothing to do with law. It is an ethical decision on the part of great numbers of people who most of the time, if you think back on your own experiences, are in fact going against their own financial interests to recycle. It costs them something. It costs you something in time and money and effort and all of that to recycle, yet somehow we do it. Ethics is capable of bringing the kind of changes into the environmental realm that law, frankly, is not.
The theme of this Choices Symposium is designing a socially just new world environment. And I thought that given the events of recent days in the Soviet Union, and thinking of the year that I was born, 1945, really the beginning of the so-called Cold War, to 1991, it's been a phenomenal period of time. But for most of the reasons, the wrong reasons. We've gone from a Cold War to literally a hot world. We live now in a fool's paradise, that somehow we can continue this exploitation of the Earth's natural resources and sustain life on this Earth into the 21st century. Those that believe that are fools. And it's our responsibility to try to provide a new vision, a new direction, a new inspiration for how it is we would like to see an environmentally just world conduct its affairs into the 21st century.
Every sunset, we go up to the top of the mountain, and in my own white man's way, I try to explain the little bit that I know about the medicine wheel. We always start in the West because Native Americans say it's good to begin things in the West because life begins in the darkness of the womb. And the West is about the coming of the night, and it's also about the big black bear that helps us look inside of ourselves and face our fears and learn that if we're willing to face fear, if we're willing to face the dark, we can walk through it and we can walk into the light. And we go around the circle and we go to the north, and the north symbolizes struggle because the fierce winter winds come from the north. And it's not just the struggle to get through the winter, it's also the struggle to lead a good life, to search for the light and the truth. And so we move along to the east, which is the symbol of the sunrise and the return of the light. And we're not trying to capture the truth or own the light. What we want to do is grow. So we continue walking the circle to the south, which is the place of children and new growth. And it's always a privilege to me in the south because that's the side of the mountain that's protected. And I can offer a prayer of thanks and say, thank you that this is protected, and make a prayer that someday all of the children, including the little child that lives inside of us today, will be safe. In the center of the circle, of course, two colors, blue for the sky above, green for the earth below. There's really lots more symbolism in the medicine wheel, but overall, really the most important symbol is the circle itself. Symbolizes the connectedness of all living things.
I hear this in the cell of each petal of every flower, of every leaf, of every blade of grass, certainly in the whales and the dolphins in the oceans, certainly in the stars that shine in the heavens. There were children raised in sorrow on a scorched and barren plain. There are children raised beneath the golden sun. There are children of the water and children of the sand, and they cry out through the universe, their voices raised as one. I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live. Have you gazed out on the ocean, seen the breaching of a whale?
Have you watched the dolphins frolic in the foam? Have you heard the song the humpback hears 500 miles away, telling tales of ancient history, of passages and home? I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see and I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live. For the worker and the warrior, the lover and the liar, for the native and the wanderer and kind, for the maker and the user, the mother and her son. I'm looking for my family, and all of you are mine. We are standing all together, face to face, arm in arm. We are standing on the threshold of a dream. No more hunger, no more killing, no more wasting life away. It's simply an idea, but I know its time has come. I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live, and I want to grow, I want to see and I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live, and I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live.
When an idea goes off in your head, in your brain, when you make connections, you get excited, aha. Literally, photons, light waves are going off in your brains. Where does a light wave come from? From the food we eat, from photosynthesis. We eat sunlight. The food comes from the sun. The sun came from the supernova explosion 5.5 billion years ago. The supernova explosion is a descendant of the original fireball, which burned out after 750,000 years. Friends, the light in your mind is the fireball of 18 billion years ago happening today in new form. It's been digested and regurgitated. But it's got to come out. And how this connects to the whole tradition of the light, Christ as light of the world, for example, in the Christian tradition, for this is widespread in all mystical traditions, enlightenment. Professor Papp is a physicist in Germany who has recently discovered that every single atom in the universe contains photons. Therefore, every single atom in the universe contains light. And we now know that our home, you know, ecology means home, ecos, home. Our home is not America, is not this planet, is not our solar system. It is 1 trillion galaxies. We're the first generation that knew that. 1 trillion galaxies, big. How could we ever be bored again?
The greatest blessing, I think, that we have that have been given to us by our Creator is the power to love and to be loved. And sitting out there amongst you, I feel that a great deal. And now the next thing is that from our Creator, the next best or greatest gift, I should say, is the power to think, the power to choose, the power to act, and the power to make and shape our future and our world as we want to make it. You know, we have done that. We are the reason that the world is like it is because of our own thoughts and because of our own actions. And if we want to change it, if we want to make it a better place, if we want to make it a creative place, a place where there's fairness and justice and all those things that we want so dearly in our heart, we've got the power to do it because we've been given the power of thought, and everything comes from that. We're the creators in this world, and don't ever forget that.
John Denver began this wonderful gathering talking about his vision when he was a young man. And he said he had a vision of people coming from all over the world who were his friends and who had the same cares and concerns that he had. And I wanted to hear the rest of that story, which is, John, how did you hold that vision through 12 plus years of education? How did you? This is what I think education lacks, and that is drawing forth from our young people the vision that I believe is in every one of us, and helping them through the culture and the cultural resources that we have. Hold to that vision.
I realize that the regeneration of America and the regeneration of our values and dreams is really going to come from the community. And I've been very relieved to find out that there's a lot going on out there in the way of youth leadership. I set a meeting last December, and I called together some of the top community experts in America to study the situation of community for 2 days intensively to see if we could do television programming around it or what we could do to really regenerate community America. And they all unanimously agreed that it's really the youth, that it's that 10 to 20 crowd basically that is in the real cutting edge position right now to be able to make a greater difference on these issues than anything else, because they can break the chain of dysfunctionality that America has right now. And through youth leadership, they've got the creativity and the sense of cooperation and the open-mindedness and all of the openness that sometimes we lose later in life. They can influence their parents, and they can influence their younger brothers and sisters. And we've seen several articles since then that the youth of America are transcending families from the inside out.
The earth is our home, and just like a house, if we take care of it, it'll last forever. But if we don't, it'll soon perish.
Children are the future. If we don't take care and love our children, there will be no future.
The world has many problems nowadays, and it seems that it's impossible to reach. But a human arm goes far. A human arm that cares can go further. So why don't we just all reach out?
You got the vision, but how do we make a start? You got to listen close, you got to follow your heart. You got to make it real, you got to let it happen. There ain't nobody else gonna make your dreams come true. Just let the love shine through. Do what you really feel. You got to want it, you got to make it real. Reach out and touch somebody. You don't have to cry alone. You got to reach out and touch somebody's hand and welcome all the children home. You got to reach out and touch somebody. We don't have to cry alone. You got to reach out and touch somebody's hand and welcome all the children home.
Who does it? Who fixes it? How much do you want to fix it? How badly? What are you willing to give up? A lot of questions to be answered, you know. It's not enough to say, yeah, save the environment. You got to start thinking about what you're going to give up. Because life's pretty easy. I got a good life. I live by the ocean. I dress fairly decently. Thank you. You know. What does it mean? It means I don't get home much. It means you got to go out. You got to leave your family, got to leave your environment, got to learn new shit. Which brings me back to change. Ooh, you know, it's not enough. You have to start looking at you in the mirror and saying, you know what? I'm going to do unto this as I want it done unto me.
A warm Windstar welcome for this year's award recipient, Lester R. Brown.
How much time do we have? Not a lot of time. We've got to get some of these trends turned around during this decade. Reverse the deforestation of the planet. Reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. Get the brakes on population growth. These are the kinds of things that will determine the sort of world that Courtney Johnson's generation will live in. We don't have a lot of time. And the question is, how much time can we, as individuals, afford to give? Most of us are concerned about our children. We spend a lot of money on health care, we spend a lot of money on education. But how much are we prepared to spend to make sure they have a habitable planet?
The quote I would use to bring Courtney Johnson up here, and she's known as Corey, comes from Chardin. After we have mastered the winds and the waves and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in human history, we will have discovered fire. Fire burns in the heart of Courtney Johnson, in her spirit. Please welcome Courtney Johnson as the first recipient of the Windstar Youth Award.
My name is Corey. I live in Arizona. They say we have the best politicians money can buy, but the Cardinals are doing better. We also don't have 3 incinerators burning toxic waste either, because we have powerful people like Windstar, Greenpeace, Don't Waste Arizona, and my group, Children for a Safe Environment. We are very active kids. We take action. We recycle, reuse, and reduce, but we take real action. We kicked ENSCO out of our state with people power. When I was young, I heard a poem. When I was younger. I get very confused by adults. I won the Environmental Youth Award from our mayor for my hard work on the Styrofoam campaign. But then my award was mounted on Styrofoam board. One day I was on the news at a protest. My teachers were so proud of me, they pulled me aside from the rest of my class and whispered, "You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work." Why did they have to whisper it if I was doing such a good job? Adults say don't let peer pressure get to you, but they let peer pressure get to them. Why does all of the dirty, polluting industries get put in minority poor neighborhoods? I'm only a child, I can't vote, but I know the difference between right and wrong. And the way we are living today is wrong. Children are starving with no place to live, and the Rose Bowl parade floats cost $50,000. This weekend I have met kids from all over the world. We made some friends and promises to leave here and educate adults daily about respect. Please respect my future. Let's make a deal. You respect my future and I'll protect your grandchildren's future. Thank you.
As the river runs freely, the mountain does rise. Let me touch with my fingers and see with my eyes in the hearts of the children a pure love still grows.
Like a bright star in heaven that lights our way home, like the flower that shattered the stone.
Like a bright star in heaven that lights our way home, like the flower that shattered the stone.
And I would like to leave you with this thought tonight as you go home.
There's a full moon over India, and Gandhi lives again. And who's to say you have to lose for someone else to win? In the eyes of all the people, the look is much the same. For the first is just the last one. When you play a deadly game, it's about time we realize it. We're all in this together. It's about time we find out. It's all of us or none. It's about time we recognize it. These changes in the weather. It's about time. It's about changes. It's about time. There's a light in the Vatican window for all the world to see. And a voice cries in the wilderness. Sometimes he speaks for me. I suppose I love him most of all when he kneels to kiss the land. With his lips upon our mother's breast, he makes his strongest stand. It's about time we start to face it. The earth is our only home. It's about time we start to see it. We can't make it here on our own. It's about time we start to listen to the voices in the wind. It's about time. It's about changes. It's about time. There's a man who is my brother. I just don't know his name. But I know his home and family, because I know we feel the same. And it hurts me when he's hungry and when his children cry. I too am a father, and that little one is mine. It's about time we begin it, to turn the world around. It's about time we start to make it the dream we've always known. It's about time we start to live it, the family of man. It's about time. It's about changes. It's about time.